Hello and welcome to this week's Topic Tuesday. So today's topic is about feeling not good enough. So many of us at different stages or different times in our life feel that we're not good enough or doing something good enough or mom enough, pretty enough, skinny enough, like we know enough. Yesterday I did a post about this because it's something that I have struggled with a lot, the feelings of not good enough. And I know that a lot of people struggle with this too. A lot of people that I've worked with in the past, and even young, like little kids that I work with, have this virus. Like I saw somebody talk about this the other day, that one of the real viruses that are going on in the world today is this feeling of not being good enough. And it's like a mental programming virus that a lot of us have. And what happens? We feel that we're not doing enough or being enough, right? That we start to look for our worth outside. So people can prove to us, or situations or accomplishments that we have or do can prove to us that we are enough. But what happens? We are living in a moment in time where everything is instant gratification, right? We are getting really accustomed to having things be right now. And a lot of times these projects or these improvements or, these learning journeys that we are on take time. Any good thing takes time, and we tend to forget this. So what happens when we don't see results immediately, or we don't see results as quick as we would like to, then we feel that we are being shown that we are not enough. So what does all this mean? For example, social media, for example, it is a great thing. But if we don't know how to use it, or if we start looking for our worth in other people's comments, other people's likes, then we start to feel not enough, right? When we are embarking on, for example, a meditation practice, and we don't feel that we are receiving the benefits that are our expectation of the practice, then we feel we're not good enough to meditate, or we're not doing it well, or we are just not cut out for it. So we're kind of validating this feeling of not being good enough. So what do we do, or how do we deal with the feelings of not being good enough? Now, we all go through this, myself included, and many times. What I've realized is that this not good enough is just a story we're telling ourselves in our head. It's a story, it's a perception, it's the mental chatter that is in our head. And when we look for external things to prove this belief we have, the story we're telling ourselves in our head, we're just making it bigger, or we are confirming this belief, right? So our brain has the attention bias, and that means that we look for stuff outside of us to prove what we believe in here. So when we keep showing ourselves how not good enough we are with all these failures, or all these expectations that are not being met, we are feeding this attention bias and this belief of not being good enough. However, if we stop for a minute and say, okay, is this really true? Am I not a good enough mom because I got angry at my child and screamed at him? Well, maybe that happened in this occasion, but I can look for all the other times and remember all the other times that I have been a good enough mom. Or if I'm starting out in a business, right? And maybe, things aren't working out the way I want them to work out. I can look back and say, okay, does it always work out in the wrong way? Or do I have positive stories? So what I'm trying to say here, that sometimes it feels like I'm going around in circles. What I'm trying to say here is that just like our mind goes to remember all those things that are not working out well, we have the choice to take our attention and remember all those things that have worked out well. All those times that are proof to us that we are good enough, that we are doing a good enough job, that we are on this path and we are enough. So anytime that thought of not being good enough comes into your head, I challenge you to challenge it. Challenge the thought. Question it. Don't believe it just because it's a thought in your head. Question it and look for one reason, just one reason, one experience, one memory, proof that that is not true, that you are good enough. We all are good enough. We just have to remind ourselves that we are. And that's where the internal mental work comes in. If we have a virus in our programming, we need to change the program. And that is how we change our mental program. Not believing it and showing our attention bias the opposite. Showing it the opposite. It's in here. So believe that you are good enough. Show yourself that you are, because you have proof that you are. So that is the topic of this Tuesday and the work we have cut out for us for this week. We are good enough. Repeat that. Remind yourself. The more you repeat it, the more you start to believe it. Have a wonderful Tuesday. See you next week.